And all of a sudden, there was this enormous whoosh of energy that came in through my crown chakra, filled the physical body, filled the energy field around me. I knew that this was my higher self. I can't tell you how I knew that. I just knew. And this energy was unlike anything I've ever experienced before in this lifetime. Again, words fail here, but it was deeply, deeply powerful and deeply, deeply still. And knowings came to me while I was in this state. One knowing that came to me is that all is well always, no matter how it may appear otherwise on the surface. And the other knowing that was given to me is that
I'm excited to be here with Rob Schwarz. Rob has had a profound spiritually transformative experience of unconditional love for all people. He came to know in this experience that all souls are made literally from the energy of unconditional love. He has also had a non dual experience of his higher self and several experiences of bliss. Rob, I am so blessed to have you. Thank you so much for joining me today.
it's my pleasure. I'm happy to be here with you.
And so I'm very interested to hear about your spiritually transformative experience if you want to start there.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. A number of years ago, I believe it was in 2003, I was doing nothing more than walking down the street, walking down the sidewalk in the middle of a weekday afternoon, taking a break from work. And I had an experience in which all of a sudden, every time I saw another person, this feeling of pure, overwhelming, unconditional love for that person washed over me. It was not a personal kind of love. I didn't even know any of the people I was seeing. You could call it divine love, transcendent love. Words don't even begin to describe what this was like, though. And as this was happening, you could say that I was caused to know, that we as souls are made from the energy of unconditional love. What I didn't know at the time was why this was happening. That actually became clear a couple of years later. By that time, I had looked at many people's pre birth plans for my first book, Your Soul's Plan. And what I found in the research is that every life plan, without exception, is based on complete unconditional love for every person involved. And that's true even when great challenges are being planned. It's true when negative roles are being scripted. It's always based on unconditional love for everybody. And then I realized, aha, that experience walking down the street a few years ago, that was given to me so that when I found this result in my research, I would be absolutely certain that what I was finding was true.
What lessons did you learn from this experience?
Well, basically, just that we as souls are made from the energy of unconditional love. But it changed everything. I mean, completely changed my concept of who and what I am, who and what you are, who and what each person is. Um, we live in a world where we tend to look at differences and surface appearances. And the fact of the matter is, we all have a lot more in common with each other than any of our surface differences. And that commonality is the fact that we're made by God or source, whatever term you want to use. We're made by source from unconditional love, made by love, from love, for love, as love, with love.
And why do you think at this point in your life, when this experience happened, you actually had this experience?
I believe that, well, this happened when I was 40 years old, and in numerology, 40 is quite significant. And it happened partly because of my age, partly because I had a pre birth plan to write books about pre birth planning. And I really needed to get started on that. And the universe wanted me to get started on it. And so this experience was created by my soul and my guides as a way of getting me out of the corporate world where I had been stuck for a long time, was really just spinning my wheels. uh, it opened me up to doing things and taking chances that otherwise I would never have done. I mean, within a very short time of that experience, I left the corporate world. I moved from Chicago to Ashland, Oregon, because I felt guided to go there. This little town in Southern Oregon I had never been to, did not know anybody there, didn't even know why I was going. I just felt this overwhelming guidance to go. Then I ended up writing Your Soul's Plan there over the next 3 years. And looking back, this was all orchestrated by the universe.
And your soul's plan is about pre-birth
Pre-birth
experiences,
planning.
pre-birth
So
planning.
what I do in all three of my books, Your Soul's Plan, Your Soul's Gift, and Your Soul's Love, I go through pretty much every major challenge we face here in the Earth School, and I interview somebody who has gone through that experience. And then that person has sessions with mediums and channels who are part of my team. And through them, we ask Spirit, did this person plan this experience before he or she was born? And if so, why? And then I present all the information that comes through from Spirit as to why these challenges were planned. And then in the new book, Your Soul's Love, in addition to the sessions with mediums and channels, I incorporate the form of hypnosis I practice, which is a between life soul regression. And in that form of hypnosis, the person can speak directly with Spirit and again ask what was planned and why.
Now, have you had your pre-birth regression or between lives regression, and this is where you learned what your purpose was?
Actually, that's not where I learned it. I did do a between lives regression as part of the training, but that that didn't really go into this portion of my life plan. This is something that I've pieced together from a number of personal channeling sessions and that I also just know intuitively.
You also had another experience, let's see, a non-dual experience of your higher self. Tell me about that.
That happened about a year ago. I was sitting outside at about 8:30 on a Thursday morning, sitting in a lawn chair watching the sunrise. And all of a sudden, there was this enormous whoosh of energy that came in through my crown chakra, filled the physical body, filled the energy field around me. I knew that this was my higher self. I can't tell you how I knew that. I just knew. And this energy was unlike anything I've ever experienced before in this lifetime. Again, words fail here, but it was deeply, deeply powerful and deeply, deeply still. And knowings came to me while I was in this state. One knowing that came to me is that all is well always, no matter how it may appear otherwise on the surface. And the other knowing that was given to me is that this energy is who and what I really am. And therefore, I'm inviolable. I cannot be harmed by anything in any way. So when I say that, I'm talking about me as the soul. Obviously, the body can be harmed, the personality can be harmed, but these are transitory, illusory things. The real me, that energy that I felt that day, that energy is inviolable. There's nothing that can harm it ever. And this is true for everybody.
And what makes that experience different from the spiritual experience um, where you felt the unconditional love for all of the people walking by?
The difference is that when I had the feeling of unconditional love, I was still very much in duality, duality consciousness. So the world was its ordinary state, except that I was feeling this great unconditional love for every person I saw. In the non-dual experience, it was non-dual. So so hard to put into words. That's all there was. There was just this deep stillness, this knowing that I'm inviolable, this knowing of my own power, so much power that I can't even put it into words. And there was nothing else. I mean, duality, I could still perceive it, but it was perceived from a non-dual perspective.
And so you're working on now currently doing between life regressions
That's right.
with people. What is important about that? Why do we need to know what our pre-life or between lives are like?
Well, let me start by describing what a between life soul regression is like. So it takes about 2 hours. You can do it either as a private session, or we have many ongoing online workshops where you can do it as part of a group. It's just as effective either way. It starts with some preliminary steps in which we go through some stages to help you relax physically and mentally. And then I guide you into a past life. It's almost always a past life that had a big impact on the plans for the current lifetime. You experience a number of different scenes in the past life, the last of which is the death scene. You leave the body in the death scene and actually cross back over to the other side, which I know might sound a little bit ominous, but there's actually nothing to it. It's very easy and gentle. When you get back to the other side, usually the person is greeted by a spirit guide, but it could be a loved one, an angel, an ascended master like Jesus. You talk with whoever greets you about why you were shown that past life and what's important to know about it. And then that being takes you to what is called your Counsel of Elders. These are the very wise, loving, and highly evolved beings who oversee your personal evolution. They know literally everything about you, everything about the plans for the current lifetime, everything about every other experience you've ever had. And when you get in front of your counsel, you can ask literally any question on any subject. So most people ask, what did I plan for this incarnation? How am I doing? Why did I make those plans? And how can I better fulfill those plans? But you can ask about any specific challenge. What does it mean? How should you respond to it? You can ask about every significant person and relationship in your life, health issues, work issues, anything at all you would like higher wisdom about. There are a number of great benefits to doing this. Perhaps the main one is that if somebody is in a state of victim consciousness, it will pull you right out of that. It's very hard to accomplish anything from a victim consciousness. But once you know that you are the powerful soul who planned your life and your biggest challenges, then you also know that you're not a victim. And that's very empowering for people. And it really makes a huge difference in their life experience. Then, on top of that, when you understand why you plan certain challenges, then you can go about learning those underlying lessons in a much more conscious and much less painful manner. And I think what people find is that when new challenges come along in the future, they're much easier to handle because instead of seeing no deeper meaning to them, you just think, okay, I know that I'm in this lifetime to learn this and that and that. With all of that in mind, how can I work with this new challenge to learn those lessons? So it has the effect of immediately assigning deeper meaning to a new challenge that otherwise might appear to be meaningless suffering. Therefore, the suffering is reduced and the lessons are learned much more easily and much more quickly.
In a pre-birth regression, people go to the place before this life, correct?
That's correct. They're going back to the other side, basically.
To the other side. Can they also go to learn about past lives and what kind of lessons or what kind of agreements they had in place before past lives and kind of put it all together like a big puzzle?
Well, you're already doing that in regard to at least one past life just by doing the between lives regression. So you will get information about whatever past life is most important to know about at that time. Some people, when they do the between lives regression, instead of going to multiple scenes in the same past life, they'll be shown an individual scene from several different past lives. That will happen if there's some kind of theme that they've been working on over a number of lifetimes, and they need to know now what that theme is. But regardless of how many past lives you see in a between lives regression, when you get to your Counsel of Elders, you can ask them anything you want to ask about past lives. So you could ask, what have I been working on in my most recent past lives? What is a past life where I was very successful learning these lessons? Uh, Anything at all that you can think to ask, they can tell you.
And this Council of Elders, is that the group of people that are sometimes seen in a near death experience?
No, they're all non-physical beings, but your Council of Elders, these are very, very, very highly evolved beings. So highly evolved, it's actually beyond human comprehension. They would likely not be the ones meeting you if you're crossing over during an NTE. When people cross over in near-death experience, they generally encounter loved ones from this lifetime who have already crossed over, other members of their soul group, maybe angels, maybe some of the ascended masters who guide them, but not usually their Council of Elders.
And the Council of Elders, are they able to help us in this lifetime? Or do they kind of just hang back and watch?
It depends in part on what you ask them to do. They certainly know what's going on. And if you go to them in a between life soul regression and you ask for more assistance, they're happy to provide it.
So tell me about a time when you had a client who did the between lives regression and that impacted their life.
Well, there's a story in my first book about a woman who was blown up in a bomb explosion. And she actually did not do a between life soul regression, but she learned about her life plan in the research we did for that chapter with the mediums and channels. And it's a very powerful and very inspiring story because it shows what you can do with an awareness of your pre-birth plan. So after the bomb explosion took place, which was several decades ago, she was very badly disabled by it. The flames from this explosion scorched her entire body. She lost a couple of fingers, both eardrums were ruptured. Um, it took 2 years and 10 reconstructive surgeries for her to be pieced back together. And she was in extreme pain the whole time. And during that 2 year period, she was lying in her hospital bed in a lot of pain when all of a sudden she heard a voice inside her head. And it was one of her spirit guides. And the guide said to her, "You planned this." And of course, she said, "Why?" And the guide said, "You wanted before you were born to have a lifetime as a gifted healer. And you knew that if you could heal yourself from this bomb explosion, you could then take all of that wisdom and knowledge about healing and turn it outward in service to others." So she was given the purpose for this horrible, tragic bomb explosion. And then she went to work with that. When she recovered from the 10 reconstructive surgeries, she went back to school, got a PhD in speech language pathology, set up a private practice, took everything she had learned about healing from healing herself, and now offered this to her clients. And so at this point, she's healed literally thousands and thousands of people. And she would never have been able to do that work if she hadn't gone through the bomb explosion and learned everything she learned about healing afterwards.
Tell me about the process of the regression itself. Is it something where you feel fully immersed, or is it like memories coming back? What is the sensation when you're moving through it?
It varies quite a bit from person to person. And the reason for this is that there are different modes of receiving information from spirit. So the most common mode is visual. You see in your mind's eye the past life scenes. You see your Council of Elders. You see the other side. But not everybody is primarily visual in the mode that they get information from spirit from. So another mode is auditory. Sometimes people hear their counsel talking to them, even though they don't see them. Feelings or emotions is another primary mode. So, for example, you ask your Council of Elders a question, and then a feeling will wash over you. And the feeling itself is an answer from the council to your question. There are also, and this is very common, downloads of information. Somebody asks their council a question, and then all of a sudden they just completely, fully know the answer. It's been downloaded into them. They may or may not see the council, they may or may not hear them, but they get this instantaneous download that fully answers all the questions they're asking. And then some of the other less common modes, people will get information in the form of colors, geometric images, bodily sensations, or any combination of any of these things.
Are you able to hold on to that line of communication after the regression is over, perhaps in meditation or in everyday life?
If you can raise your vibration to the point where you can connect with the council on your own, then you could do that. That's relatively unusual. Most people will do another between lives regression the next time they want to talk to their council. But we record everything in the session. And so, you don't have to try to hold on to the information. You've got it there in the recording.
How has this work changed your life?
Tremendously for a number of reasons. One is I'm no longer stuck in the corporate world where I, just felt that I was not doing anything that a lot of other people couldn't do. And I know that I'm fulfilling my pre-birth plan. I know that I'm doing what I came here to do. I know that I'm making a big difference in a lot of people's lives. And it's just deeply, deeply fulfilling.
Has your perception of death and what happens to us when the body ceases to live changed at all from your experiences?
Yeah, it's changed entirely. I have no fear of death at all. I have some concern about the death process. It could be painful. And of course, I don't want to go through that. But as far as what happens after the body dies, I have a pretty good idea, I think, of what the other side is like. And I have no fear at all of going home.
What do you think the other side is like?
I think it's a realm of complete unconditional love and light. I think when we are back on the other side, everybody loves everybody. And then we come here and we play these very challenging roles to stimulate each other's growth. But these are just roles. It's just a play on a stage. And when we get back to the other side, everybody loves everyone. Uh, we, I know that we create homes for ourselves. We take classes, we play games. The games are games in which everybody wins. There are no losers the way there are in games here. Uh, the focus is on beauty and growth. There's a focus on the arts, music, and so forth. Things here that many people consider to be, not of primary importance, like making money. It's just reversed on the other side.
How have your experiences shaped the way that you live your life besides just your corporate job? Um, have you changed the way you live your life in any way?
Changed everything. I mean, I left the corporate world completely. Uh, I haven't done any work like that in over 20 years. And my whole life is devoted to doing these between lives regressions with people, teaching online courses and workshops, writing books. I have a completely different life now.
Do you feel like the planet is changing? Like maybe the last few decades. Dr. Moody coined the term near death experience back in the 70s, which kind of was the, for me, well, for me anyway, it was a pivotal moment in spiritual history where we were starting to recognize spiritually transformative experiences, out of body experiences, near death experiences. And slowly but surely, we're here now, 50 years later, and more people are having experiences, and there's more discussions surrounding them and an opening of minds and hearts. Do you feel like the planet is shifting?
It's shifting tremendously, and that's because we're going through an ascension process. So it's my understanding we've already ascended from the third dimension to the fourth, and we're headed to the fifth, which is a vibration of oneness consciousness and unconditional love. So we're basically going home while staying in a physical body. And as part of this ascension process, there's a worldwide spiritual awakening going on. There are more people waking up every day. And I think it will increase exponentially over the next few years. Everything is changing dramatically now.
What are some of the differences that people may notice in their life as they shift from 3D to 4D and 5D?
Well, the thing that you would probably notice most right now is that, and this is happening both collectively to the entire human race, but also individually in each person's life, The ascension is caused by light from source flooding the planet. And the light has the effect of bringing to the surface, bringing to conscious awareness everything unlike itself, everything of a lower vibration. So, this is why you see so much craziness in the news now, perhaps more than ever. But it's also happening individually in everyone's life, whether they're consciously aware of it or not. In short, everybody's stuff is coming to the surface, it's coming to conscious awareness so that you can release it, because these lower vibrational aspects of consciousness can't go with you into the fifth dimension. So this process is called purification. And it basically, it can feel painful, it can feel chaotic, confusing. People just notice that their stuff is at the surface now, and generally they don't know why. Well, this is the reason. It's part of the ascension process. And so the thing to do is to not shove it back down. You don't want to suppress anything. You want to recognize it, thank it sincerely for whatever it's taught you, bless it, release it to the universe. That's really all you have to do to go through the purification process. But you have to know that that's what's happening in order to do that.
I've heard that the awakening or enlightening process can be painful, and you're talking about moving through 3D, 4D, 5D, um, and becoming more enlightened and more aware of this conditional love. Can that be a painful process? And if so, do you have any tips on how to ease that pain?
You know, I think a metaphor we can use here, if you think about what happens when light strikes an object, it casts a shadow. And the brighter the light, the darker the shadow, until at a certain point, there's so much light that it just dissolves the shadow. So, in my opinion, humanity is very close to and possibly at the point of maximal darkness of the shadow. So, things look sort of gloomy right now. But you have to keep in mind that's just one step removed from there being so much light that it just completely dissolves the shadow.
What's the point of that? What's the point of moving from 3D to 4D and continuing to raise our vibration?
The point of all of this, we have to go way back in his history to explain that. Eons and eons ago, long before there was recorded linear time, the billions of us who are incarnate on Earth got together and we said to ourselves, we would like to make a unique contribution to the Godhead, to Source. What could that be? And the idea that we came up with was to experience separation. Now, you can't actually separate from Source, but what you can do is create an illusion in which you appear to have separated from Source. And so that's what we did. That's why we're here in physical bodies that seem to be separate from each other. And according to the input from our five senses, each one of us is an individual separated from all other individuals. All of that is an illusion, but it seems very, very real. At the moment we chose to experience separation, as I understand it, God put in plan a place to bring us home. It was foreseen that separation would cause tremendous suffering, that we would change our minds, and we would want to leave the state of separation. And so a plan was immediately created to bring us home. That plan is the ascension. So ascension is reversing, you could say that it's reversing the reversal. Separation is a reversal of divine reality. Ascension is now reversing the reversal.
Let's talk about reincarnation for a minute. So, reincarnation, is that the process of us living these lives over and over and over again so that we can contribute this unique gift back to the Godhead?
That's part of the reason why we incarnate, but there are many others. We reincarnate to balance karma, to release karma, to heal, which essentially means letting go of unhealed energies from past lives. We reincarnate to be of service to each other. We reincarnate to experience contrast, by which I mean not love, because there is no not love on the other side. So if you want to experience not love, in order to understand what love is, you have to come to a place of duality like Earth. We reincarnate to let go of false beliefs or feelings about oneself. There are many reasons.
And do we always reincarnate on this earth? Are there different earths? Are there different planets? Completely different dimensions and realms?
That's my understanding. And my understanding is that there are so many parallel Earths and parallel dimensions that it's just beyond human understanding. And when I ask Jesus about this in the channeling sessions we've done for many of the books, he basically says just to focus on your incarnation because this is beyond the comprehension of the human brain. And it's also not what you've come here to do. You've come here to focus on the physical so that you can learn the lessons that it offers.
In our pre birth planning, in between lives, can we choose to take a little more easy? Because sometimes people feel like this earth is a very difficult challenge.
It is a very difficult challenge. It's actually the most difficult place to incarnate in our universe. But you can, and everybody does, have relatively easy lifetimes. The soul wants to experience everything. So if you are a soul who has had only difficult lifetimes, at some point you will plan, I call it a vacation lifetime. At some point, everybody will have at least one vacation lifetime just to have that experience.
And where are we ultimately heading?
The ultimate objective of all of this is to learn to give and receive love more fully and freely. That's what the whole thing is about.
And do we end up in a place that we stay in all eternity, or do we, for all eternity, reincarnate?
You get to a point where you don't have to go back into the physical. Actually, you never have to go back into the physical, but people do because they feel a sense of incompletion with the lessons that they were learning there. But you'll eventually, everybody will get to a point where you feel complete with the lessons offered by the physical realm, and then you'll go on to something else. But it's not like you arrive at a stationary destination in the non-physical and you say, okay, I'm done. I'll just stay here for all eternity. I mean, the growth is never ending. And even if you were to reach what is now the highest vibration in existence, if you got there, that would have the effect of immediately creating another vibration that was higher. So it's always expanding.
When we do die and we go to the afterlife, where we go in your between lives regression, are there people or beings, I should say, that we stay with throughout eons or all eternity, like a soul family?
Well, you have a soul group, which is a collection of souls who are at the same stage of evolution, same vibration. So you will be with them through many, many incarnations. But souls come into new soul groups and they leave and they go into other soul groups. So if you're evolving at a faster rate than the other members of your soul group, you would most likely go on and join a more advanced soul group.
Do members of our soul group cheer us on, like, or watch over us, help us from the other side?
They do. They're aware of what's happening, and some are mostly just observing. But if you have pre-birth agreements with some others in your group to guide you or assist in some way, then they will do that.
And is there anything that you want to touch on that we've missed?
Well, just to talk a little bit about the website, which is yoursoulsplan.com. And I would invite everybody to sign up for the newsletter. That will keep you informed of what we're doing. If you go to the events page, you can see all of the upcoming workshops. If you go to the sessions page, you can read all about the between life soul regression. And there's actually a 1 hour video of a between life soul regression on that page. So you can see exactly what it consists of. And if anybody has any questions, just send them to me through the contact form.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much for that. And do you have any last words of wisdom for my viewers?
I think the message I would like to leave people with, it's my understanding that in order to be here in a body during this time of ascension, you had to make a 1 in 3 cut. In other words, there were 3 times as many souls who wanted to incarnate as available bodies. And in order to be chosen to be here, you had to have something specific to offer the ascension. So this is very important to understand because I think so often in our world, people feel insignificant, small, weakless, helpless, powerless. And actually, nothing could be further from the truth. If you're here in a body on earth during an ascension lifetime, you were chosen, you made a 1-3 cut because you have something quite specific to offer the ascension process. Maybe you know what that is, maybe you don't, but just to know that you were chosen to be here and your presence here makes an enormous difference.
So our lives are a great gift.
They're a great gift to us. They're also a great gift to the universe.
Thank you so much, Rob, for being here with me. It means so much to have you and to hear your story and the great work that you're doing and being a part of the awakening of the planet, the Great Awakening. I like to call it, I know everyone's calling it that, and I believe it's truly happening, and you're an integral part of that.
Well, thank you. And so are you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for being here. I just want to tell you how much I appreciate you being here and supporting my channel. If you haven't already subscribed, please consider subscribing if you enjoy near death experiences and other spiritually transformative stories. It helps the algorithm know that this information is useful and push it out to more people. And that's the goal, to get as many people to know that we are eternal spiritual beings and that we never die. Our bodies might die, but our essence will never die. And I want people to live with less fear. Let's all spread the word. Like, comment, subscribe, share, hit that little notification bell so you get all the notifications when my videos post. Thank you for all of your support. I'm sending love to you.